Hey everybody, tonight I'm going to show you how to tie a small midge. It's a chartreuse color with a gold rib. These are perfect for trout feeding off the bottom of most rivers most time of the year. That's why these things are so effective. I tie them with a size 18 Daiichi. And the bead, I believe, is a size 3/32. These are kind of a pain in the ass to get the bead on, but again, these flies are super effective. You can fish them year round. I usually fish them on a 6X leader, and I usually put a very small weight, about a foot above the fly, just to get it down into the feeding zone and fish those under an indicator. I'm using let's see, the thread here is a 70 and a chartreuse. Hopefully you can see that. And let's get started. So you start your thread wraps just behind the bead. Snip that off close. So what I do is I go back the length of the hook shank, then back towards the bead. And now you want to tie in the tail, which is this Coupe de Leon. I use this, it's a speckled fiber. These are good for mayfly flies, used for tails. You'll need about 3 or 4 of these. Doesn't take too many, and you want the length about the same length as the hook shank. So what I do is I get it into place or position, a couple loose wraps, and then you can look at it, and that looks pretty good, but you can adjust it either way if you need to pull it back, forward, and before you tighten it down. Once it's tight and secure, you can snip the ends off, and then what I do is go back down to the end again, and just make sure that that tail is pretty straight off the back, like it is there. That looks pretty good. And then go back up to the front. I use this gold ribbing wire. It's very thin. These are very small flies, so everything about them is small. The thread is thin. The ribbing is small. You don't want anything too bulky. So just snip off a piece a couple inches long. You don't need too much, but if you do a piece that's a few inches long, you can usually get about 3 or 4 flies out of it. And start that right behind the bead. Again, wrap that down to the end of the shank. And you want to be careful. You don't want to bend those tail feathers down. You want them still straight off the back. Then you wrap back up towards the front. Then you start to wrap your wire. You want to be pretty even with these. You want them, let's see, I don't know how far the spacing is, but you just want it to be even all the way back up to the bead. And once you get that back to the front, what I do is I wrap one behind, one in front, one behind again, and then you can snip that off close. Okay, so at this point, before you put on the collar, what I like to do is put a little bit of UV, the clear finish here. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. I put this up and down the body of the fly. Again, just a little bit, just enough. Make this thing a little more durable in the water because it's going to be bouncing around on rocks and whatnot. So you want to clean off the excess, and you hit it with your UV torch. You can see how it lights up. So that's where the UV finish is, wherever it's glowing there. And then you take, or what I use is this diamond brite golden olive dubbing. This is just on the collar to add a little bit more flash. You do not need a lot of this because, again, this fly is super small. So you just want enough to make that collar right behind the bead. If the dubbing is not cooperating, moisten your fingers just a little bit, and that should help you tighten that up. Then you take a few wraps right behind the bead. If it bulks up, you can kind of crisscross over it to tie down any loose ends, or you can always snip those off later if you don't like them. And then all you need to do is whip finish. I usually do 3 turns on this. 2 is probably enough. I don't know, I always do 3 for some reason. And that is it. Hopefully you can see that. Again, best way to fish these I found is on a 6X leader, and I put a very small weight, about a foot above the fly. Helps get it down into the feeding zones quicker, and you can fish these under an indicator or bobber. I like to call them an indicator. Anyway, hope you like the video. Hope this fly works out for you. Subscribe if you like the channel, and if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave a note anywhere on the page. Tight lines, everyone.